Some are a little bit smaller. Some aren't quite, quote, marketable. But yeah, just about all of them we'll end up using. And what we don't use, we'll just till back into the soil. It seems to just be a good way to re-nutrient what you got out here for your next rotation. But yeah, I mean, after the historic floods and everything, I couldn't believe how well this turned out. And you can see we've got our rye still laying down there, and we got our pumpkins all sitting on top of that rye there. So it's really helped with disease pressure, weed pressure. It keeps our pumpkins clean too. So now that they're on the rye, when we go to pick them, there's barely any dirt on them, which is wonderful for customers because, when they're taking their pumpkins into their car, last thing they want is dirt covering their seats or all over the back. So I can't speak enough to how much better the whole strip till rye process has been in terms of just quality all around, which has been great.
Yeah, you touched on how your fields were resilient in that historic flooding. Just can you elaborate on that as to how big of a benefit that it's been with strip till and cover crops?
Yeah, and these are one of the unknowns, but what I do know is a rain event of that magnitude in the past, we would have seen at least a 50, 60, even 70% loss in our fields. We were shocked, and during the flooding event, we were quite worried because we knew what happened in the past. But we came out here after those historic rains. We had a foot of rain in a 2-day window. And if it wasn't for all of our pumpkins sitting on rye and strip tilling and getting them off to such a great start to sit on the rye and stay on the rye and disease pressures down, we would have had a much different outcome if it wasn't for strip tilling, using that cover crop rye. I mean, that's the only thing I can chalk it up to because these are the big differences we just made. And fortunately enough, obviously we didn't know that rain event was coming, but we are sure happy that we decided to make the changes we made because I believe that it really made all the difference, in the end of the day.
Can you kind of go through your timeline and your process of the cover crops and then when you're making the strips and then planting and all?
Yeah, 100%. So we start planning our next pumpkin patch spot about this time each year in the fall. So the next one's going to be to the east over there and another plot we have. Soybeans are there right now. So once the soybeans come off, we take our grain drill and we plant rye quite thick. I mean, what we're looking for is to get a nice mat for our pumpkins. So once we've got that established, overwinters in the spring, and I made notes, I'm going to tweak this a little bit for this next year, but I would strip till our rye in about April timeframe when I can get out there. And what I'm trying to do is just establish my strips. That'll take our rye out of the strips already because the rye, it can get pretty, it gets to be 6 feet tall. So when it gets going, it's really going. So I want to make sure that my strips are established and starting that seed bed off. And then I let the rye grow up all the way to about, beginning of June. Once that hits, I'm going to take our roller and crimp the rye down. That actually snaps the rye at the base, so majority of it dies at that point and just becomes a nice mat for the pumpkins then to rest on once they start growing. And then we moved our planting back for pumpkins about 2 weeks. We used to do it during Memorial Day weekend. Now we kicked it back because I always felt our pumpkins, they would ripen and then they would sit out here too long before people would purchase them. So we changed that up. That also seemed to help. And then from there, yeah, we're planting right into that nice seed bed that we strip tilled. And those pumpkins, they get off to a really great start there. And then, you wait through the summer. We actually didn't have to do a whole lot of weed control versus the past because you've got this blanket of rye, which does suppress the weeds quite a bit. I was shocked, actually. And then, end product here. And you just got to get a lot of team members and helping hands. We throw them on wagons and we take them back over to the farm across the street there. And, people, purchase them and put them on their front porch. And I feel confident in these pumpkins now because I know disease pressure isn't on them as hard as other years. They're sitting right on that rye. And I can't speak for it enough how the difference from what we used to do to what we do now is, it's been a game changer.